Hey guys, Hugh Shang here. Welcome to another Hugh Shang Tutorials video. In this guide, we're going to be looking at the Protoss versus Zerg matchup, and we're going to be discussing the scouting and early game basics. So part 1, we're going to break this one up a little bit. By the end of this guide, you should have a pretty good idea of when your opponent's being a bit of a cheeky boy, when he's pulling out the cheddar. So part 1 is going to be when to scout. We're going to be talking about the benefits of a gate scout, the benefits of a pylon scout, and some of the drawbacks as well. And then part 2, we're going to be talking about reading the third base timing, which is a very important cue you want to know. And then lastly, we'll be talking about the adept scout, what you're looking for and what it means. Alright, let's get into the guide. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be looking at is a pylon scout. And the idea with this scout is not so much a scout, as you can get all the scouting info you need with the normal gateway scout. But the idea here is to block the Zerg's hatch. So you want to make your pylon on 14 like normal, but then scout right away. You can also do a 13 pylon, which is what Zest was doing against Serral recently, or not too recently I guess, to block the Zerg hatch for sure, because the Zergs are tending to go 16 hatch more often these days. So if you want to block that for sure, go 13 pylon scout. And then you can see here, this guy was trying to go for a 17 hatch. And so we were able to block this drone. And he was forced to go pool gas a little bit later than he would have liked. So we can block this, and we can also get the scouting info. And normally they're forced to take this third base. Although I ran up to check because I didn't see this drone for some reason. So I ran up to check if they did some sort of early 12 pool or something like that, and he snuck back in. But normally you can force them to take the other third. Okay, and here we have a replay of a gate scout, so you guys can see how this one looks as well. So the idea behind this one is just to stay safe. So we're not trying to block the Zerg's hatch, we're not trying to be too annoying, but we are going to get the scout to stay safe, make sure they're not 12 pooling, 14-14, 17-17. Those last two are just gas pool builds and the timings. So you could do the pylon scout if you want to block the hatch, or you can do this gate scout. This one's going to give you a little more money, of course. So gateway scout. Once you get across the map, you're looking for the Zerg's third base. Or sorry, natural. So what you want to see with either scout is that they're going for hatch first. So in this case, the hatchery is 1/3 finished because we didn't block it. But even if you were blocking, you would want to see that they're going to go for this build. And so that's the first step. So you want to know that they've went hatch first. And if you know that they've gone hatch first, then you're not worried about any early cheeses. There might be some, early mid-game cheeses, but you're safe for a little bit at least. And then the next scout you want to be looking for, there's a couple advanced things in this area, and I'll do those at the end. So if you want to skip ahead, if you're like Masters GM, go skip ahead and I'll give you some more tips. But if you're like maybe Diamond or below, then the next thing you want to be looking for is the third hatch. So you can do whatever you want here, maybe make sure there's no like 10 lings coming across the map, and then hide your probe at about 210. Actually, in this game, I'm patrolling it over here, but you have to have a really fast reaction time. So if you do this, you're probably going to lose your probe. In fact, I usually lose my probe when I do this. So what you might want to do is hide your probe. If you look on the minimap, you can see my mouse. You can hide it over here or over here. Honestly, anywhere that's just fairly far from the third. And then that way it's not going to get chased by these lings and take some damage. And then you can just come back in at like 245 and see if they've taken this third hatch. So you'll see me do this in a second. And this is going to tell us if they're cheesing us or not. Or at least if they're cheesing us or doing some sort of tech build. So we come in here, we see the third hatch. This tells us we're pretty safe. There are some cheeses they can do with this as well, but they're all clues that are adding up, So it's less likely that he's cheesing us. Okay, so that's the hatch scout. The last scout you're going to do is with this adept. In this game, I don't do the Adept Scout because I know that he's playing macro. But let's just say that he didn't have this third base, right? Let's say he's only on 2 base right now. That is a good sign that he's cheesing us, but it's not for sure because there's still some tech builds that go for 2 bases. So we're going to want to do a bunch of shades here and try to figure out what's going on. And there's a lot of combos. So I'll probably pull up the blackboard in a second and show you guys all the different possibilities. But you're going to do 1 shade into the natural and you're going to do 1 shade into the main. And basically what you're looking for is the drone count plus the layer or no layer. And the combo of those two, so there's 4 possibilities, 4 different ways to combine these, then you're going to know exactly what they're doing. So 2 shades, then run home. And as another note, you need to leave their base by about 320. So if you've done both your shades here, in fact, the last shade is like as you're running home. So you shade the second time and then you run home. And the reason you need to do that is speed finishes up at 330. So if you don't run home right now, you're going to lose your Adept. So we want the info, but we don't want to lose your Adept. So make sure you run home. All right. So that's it for the scouting. Let's take a look at the blackboard and I'll show you the combinations. Okay, so once you've done the 2 shades, you're going to combo those together. And there's 4 possibilities here, 4 permutations. So you should be able to figure out what the Zerg is capable of based on whether you scout a layer or no layer, and whether you scout lots of drones or very little drones to no drones. Okay, so the first possibility we'll cover is when you see a layer and you see no drones. So in this case, they're most likely going for a Nidus build, because with a Nidus build, you're going to want to not make drones. You're going to want to make a lot of units and just rush a lot of units quickly, dump them in your opponent's base. And so the lack of drones plus the layer is pretty odd for a lot of the other builds we'll talk about next. So the second possibility is a layer and lots of drones. So this usually means a later Nidus, could still be Nidus, but more likely a Mutalisk, Speed Roach, Hydralisk, something like this, where they're going really fast tech. And so all of these builds need more drones than just 1 base. So if you see a layer plus drones, it's one of these fast tech builds. And then the third option is you scout no layer, and you also see no drones. So this means they have quite a bit of gas and quite a bit of minerals saved up that we have no idea what they're spending it on. So they could be doing a Roach all-in, or they could be doing a Baneling all-in. So you should be able to just react pretty heavily. You don't need to know which one it is actually. You just need to make a lot of units and a lot of defense. We'll probably go over one of these guys in the future, but if you want a general idea, you can check out the video from yesterday, although it's not exactly this. And then the last possibility is when your opponent doesn't know what they're doing, or you miss something. Could be you miss something. But this possibility is when, excuse me, when you scout no layer, but you see a lot of drones. So they're not going for a 2-base tech build, and they don't have a third, right? And they don't have drones, or sorry, they do have drones. So this doesn't really make sense, because if they wanted to play a macro game, they should get a third hatch, right? Or they should get a fast layer. So either they really don't know what they're doing, or you miss scouting their third. Maybe it's a map with a gold base or a high yield third or something like that. So you might want to check around for another third that you've probably missed. Okay, so that's it for the basic scouting. So next I'm going to do some advanced stuff. If you want to stick around, let's get into that. All right, so let's get into some more advanced stuff. And so if you're a diamond and below, you probably shouldn't check for any of this because it's just going to distract you. But if you're masters or GM, these are some small tells you can be checking for that are going to help you out against some sneaky all-ins. Okay, so the first one, I'm not even doing it this game, but I do click on the gas later, is check how much gas they're mining. Because if they're doing some sort of macro build, they shouldn't put 3 drones on right away. Like if you're playing against Cyril, he's not going to do this unless he's cheesing, because he's going to want to mine a lot of minerals, and then he's going to slowly mine the gas when he has the money. So this is looking really aggressive already, just based on him grabbing the gas immediately. So you can keep a lookout for that. And then the next more advanced signal is right here at 2 minutes. So there are some builds that look like a hatch first, but they're not a hatch first. And so when you come into the main here at 2, you shouldn't see 3 larvae pooled up, because if they have 3 larvae here, that means they have 1 larva here. That's 8 lings they can make all at once. So this is a build that's like a fake hatch, and whenever they do the fake hatch first, they don't quite have as many drones too, so that might look off. And they also don't make 2 queens. So that's the next little tip I'm going to give you guys. If you look at the hatcheries, let me go back a sec actually, so you can see what they look like without the queens building. So this is a normal hatch. There is a signal that you can see something is researching. Of course, it has to be a queen this early. So you come in here, you see it moving. That means there's a queen building. So if you want to check that, and then come to the natural and check if this one's building a queen as well, that will give you some indication that they're not cheesing. If you see both of these moving, they're probably not cheesing you. Or at least they're not doing that really early cheese. So none of these are for sure, but they all add up a little bit. Like if I saw only 1 queen building and no third base, then I would be pretty positive they're cheesing there. So yeah, so you can use these advanced tips as well to help you guys out. And hope you enjoyed the guide. If you did, leave a like, subscribe. I appreciate all you guys supporting the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.